Alright, what's good YouTube? Today I'll be ranking all the special grade techniques in Jujutsu Infinite. So I know you guys are most likely returning to Jujutsu Infinite since the game has been rising again lately, and since you guys probably have a ton of spins in reserves and whatnot, you've been thinking, what special grade technique do you want to get? Because there's definitely way more special grade techniques than there were before during the release of the game. New techniques like the recent Soul King or Ancient Construction, something like that. So don't worry guys, I got you. The rankings will be from worst to best, and by the end of this video, you should know what special grade technique you want to get. Now, just a quick disclaimer before I start off this video. All the special grade techniques in this game are good. There's a reason they're special grade. They're not terrible. It's just I will be basing these rankings off, one, my opinion, and second, their utility, how good they are in both PvP and PvE. So without further ado, let's get right into it. Now, the first technique that I personally think is the worst special grade technique in the game. A lot of you might agree with me on this one, but I can see why a lot of people might get mad in the comments, but it's soul manipulation. Now, I'm gonna explain shortly why I think this is the worst special grade technique you can have in the game, but honestly, in my personal opinion, I use soul manipulation a lot, and I actually really like this curse technique. I find it really amazing to use in PvP, and when the game first released, it was one of my first special grade techniques that I ever got, so I used it a lot in PvP before its rework and whatnot. But even now during its rework, I use it a lot in PvP modes like the exchange event or even just basic 1v1s. But this technique is terrible compared to other special grade techniques for the fact that its moveset is just not that great. And I'm talking about its basic moveset. I'm not talking about anything else. But besides that, its domain is also just not that good. If you don't know, this Soul Manipulation's domain basically allows you to use Soul Touch anywhere. I'm not sure if it increases your damage, but it allows you to make Soul Touch a sure hit, and you can also stack these Transfiguration or Soul Stacks using your M1s, because usually you have to use moves. But that's not the main reason why this technique's terrible. Main reason why this technique's terrible is, like I mentioned earlier, this thing just doesn't have a lot of good moves. You got maybe Deformed Fist that does a ton of damage. Distorted Inflation is pretty good. Soul Touch is only really useful if you're using more than 2 moves from Mahito, and Mahito doesn't really have any good moves besides the Deformed Fist or the Flesh Drill, if you even want to say that's good, because that is such a short combo extender. But the good thing about this technique, I would say, is its maximum. Its maximum ever since the rework made it really good, but this maximum is still not as good as others like Heian Era, Sukuna, or even 6 Eyes, because all it really does is it gives you like a damage buff and a defense buff, and it changes the first 4 moves of Mahito's moveset into some kind of like AoE variants, which are, in my opinion, really good. But overall, this technique is incredibly underwhelming in terms of PvE, and honestly, there are just much more better options than Soul Manipulation for PvP as well. But hey, if you find Soul Manipulation fun, it's still a very good technique to use, so don't listen to me, say this technique's trash and then you just don't use it. Go ahead and use it anyways. Moving on, we have Ancient Construction. Now, this is Yorozu's technique, and the reason why I'm ranking this so low, just above last place, is because this technique is pretty difficult to use. I will be honest. I mean, not only that, you could do a ton of damage with this technique, but it's just not as easy and convenient as other techniques like Demon Vessel, Soul King, Infinity. They're just so much more better techniques than this. Now, the reason I'm placing this technique so low is, for one, this is not that great in PvE, I would say, but it is quite good in PvP. Especially Yorozu's domain. is also just not that useful outside of using her own maximum and own techniques. If you didn't know what her domain does, Threefold Affliction, it basically gives you, I think, it gives you more repeats on your Metal Dash and your Meta Rain move, as well as Maximum True Sphere has like 5 uses now instead of like 3. So it is pretty good if you use Ancient Construction's entire moveset, but this domain is basically useless on its own. So I would rank Ancient Construction just above Soul Manipulation in terms of utility and whatnot. It is better than Soul Manipulation for PvE. But in terms of PvP, I would say both of them are quite equal, although I think Ancient Construction does have a better base moveset than Soul Manipulation. Moving on to the mid tier now, we have Thunder God. Now a lot of you guys might be asking, why is Thunder God mid tier? Like, how is this technique mid tier at all? Well, in terms of PvP, it's actually really good. So in terms of PvP, I would place it higher if this was just a pure PvP tier list, but no, this thing is mid tier because it's complete garbage in terms of PvE, and I'll be honest, I've used this a lot in PvE and it's just really lackluster as compared to other techniques that you could use. Now, this thing is good in PvP though. I mean, Thunder God has a lot of easy chainable combos that you could use in PvP, and the electrification damage that you get from applying the effect from its moves does help a lot. And I have a lot of fun using this technique in PvP, but I just don't see any reason for anyone else to be using this in terms of like PvE. Now, the reason why I'm ranking this mid isn't just for that fact. It's also the fact that it has one of, if not the worst special grade transformations or maximums, because I'll be honest, Mythical Beast Amber is pretty cool. You get damage buffs, you can chant one of his moves to do like this crazy AoE damage thingy, but this in comparison to other special grade transformations is just not that great. Besides the speed buff and the obvious damage buffs and chantable moves that you get from this awakening, you don't heal, which is one bad problem. First, you don't heal upon using this awakening, and not only that, it just doesn't provide that much utility anyways. There are just much more better transformations like Sukuna's one or even Gojo's one, and I just don't see why anyone would be using Mythical Beast Amber if you don't use Thunder God's moveset. Not only that, this guy's domain is just absolute garbage, I'll be honest. Thunder God's domain is not that great. It is... You could argue that the domain lowers opponents' guards, so you could play incredibly offensive with this domain, which is true. But there are just much better domains for that, like Sukuna's one, for example. So I just don't see any reason in using this domain or this maximum, which is why I'm placing Thunder God at mid tier. Moving on from here, we have Curse Queen. Just to clarify, all the techniques from here on out are good, so if you get any one of the techniques that I mentioned from Curse Queen or above, you don't have to worry about anything because all of them are pretty good. But just to clarify why Curse Queen is somewhere in the middle between all the techniques, I'm still placing this as a good technique because I'll be honest, it is a good technique. Now, Curse Queen is in the good tier for one simple reason. It has 2 base moves that basically carry its entire moveset. We got Ghastly Fist and the Energy Blast. It's very pairable with other techniques. So if you're not one of those people that just uses only one innate and you like to pair a ton of innates together, I see a lot of people running the Ghastly Fist and the Energy Blast because it's very great range moves. Ghastly Fist is just a large AoE hand slap, and an Energy Blast is really great for countering people dashing at you and whatnot. So these 2 moves are really great. But not only that, its Conjuration move is also quite good. And Copy, although I don't really use Curse Queen's Copy a lot, you could use it to copy other people's techniques basically, and you might get something out of it, I don't really know. But the reason And personally, my main reason why I think this curse technique is good is because of Jacob's ladder. Now, Jacob's ladder is incredibly good in PvP and PvE, I would say, because it's basically just a large beam of light and it incinerates basically everything caught in it. And if you didn't know, Yuta's domain turns Jacob's ladder into a sure hit. So if you have Yuta's domain and Jacob's ladder, you paired it PvP, it's going to do a lot of damage to your enemies. Now, I'm not really fond of Yuta's domain on its own because I don't really know how to use his katanas, you know, the ones that give you a bunch of random curse techniques. And honestly, in my opinion, I don't think it's that useful because you just don't really need it, or sometimes it just gives you some garbage technique like construction. But overall, Yuta is a really good curse technique or innate. So if you're thinking what techniques you want to get, I would suggest getting Curse Queen if you have an extra slot. Up next, we have Gambler Fever, which is Hakari's technique. Now, one thing I'm going to say about this technique is it is incredibly good in PvP. And if this was a PvP tier list, I would honestly place it in top 3. Now, I'll get to it shortly, but in terms of PvE, Gambler Fever is also really good. You know, you have a lot of moves that are pretty low on cooldown. You could just keep spamming them. And the domain is honestly really good because the domain, unlike any other domain in the game, you do not need a domain bar or, you know, the thing that you need to get like to 100%, a domain meter. Yeah, that's right. You don't need to have a max domain meter to cast his domain. And honestly, his domain can be spammed like every 30 seconds or so, and you get buffs inside that domain. So it's good for PvE and PvP. If you run against like Keion Sukuna, the boss fight, you could just spam the domain to counter him. But that's also the exact reason why this character or this innate is so powerful in PvP. Now, not only can you just spam its domain to counter other people's domain or trap them inside so they can't cast their own domain, but if you run in place like exchange event, you could trap people in your domain. So if you're getting like, I don't know, jumped or anything, right? If you manage to get one guy outside, you could open your domain and trap that guy, so now it's a 1v1. And not only that, the crazy thing is, yep, the jackpot. So I'm pretty sure you get the jackpot after 2 domains, but this thing lasts like for more than a minute, I think. And you basically just become immortal. You get free healing and you get more damage and you just basically become a offensive demon. No one can hurt you, even if you get hit by like a hollow nuke or like a hollow purple. You could get hit by a million domains, you'll probably still be alive because you'll just keep healing over and over and over until it ends. So this is incredibly powerful because by the time the jackpot even ends, you'll probably already have your domain already, so you could just cast it again. And then after another one, you'll get a jackpot again, and you'll just keep running over and over and over again. You're basically immortal. So Hakari is probably, if not one of the most busted techniques in the game in terms of PvP and PvE. But personally, I don't think this technique is that great in PvE because you honestly don't need the jackpot for PvE, but you could if you're complete garbage, I guess. That's just a joke, by the way, don't take it too personally. But in terms of PvP, Hakari is an absolute demon. Moving on, we have Infinity, which is Gojo's technique. Now, a lot of people in the comments, I can already kind of smell it, might be thinking like, how is this not a top 3 technique? Like Infinity, it's Infinity, come on. But I'll be honest, this technique is kind of overrated. I can see why this technique is great, you know. You got Hollow Purple, you've got 6 Eyes, which gives you the access to Hollow Nuke. And it has probably one of the best domains in the entire game, Unlimited Void. But in terms of its base moveset, Gojo is not that good. It has good moves. It has good moves. Don't get me wrong. It has much more good moves compared to other characters like Ancient Construction or Soul Manipulation. because you got Hollow Purple, you've got Lapse Blue, which is a good combo starter. You got Reversal Red that can guard block, Spatial Pummel that just traps enemies, and then you've got Red Transmission, which is basically a instant dash move, an instant combo starter if you catch your opponent off guard. But the reason why I'm ranking this as now, if not the best or even a top 3 technique, is because this thing isn't really good on its own. Like, you could do Lapse Blue and then Spatial Pummel, and you really just don't have anything else to use. Like, what can you even do? You could use Reversal Red, but they can escape from it. You could use Red Transmission or something, but they're just much more better techniques you could do full than just Gojo on its own. Gojo or Limitless as a technique on its own is not that great, but if you pair it up with other techniques, this thing can be absolutely insane. For example, like if you use Hollow Purple on its own, it's already really good. Or if you use Red Transmission as a combo starter, or you could even keep Reversal Red and Lapse Blue and keep 6 Eyes just for the Hollow Nuke. Or even don't use the whole technique at all. You could just use the Domain. That's still really good, because the Domain literally just basically stun locks your enemy, making them incapable of doing anything for like 30 seconds. You could basically kill them in between that time. I would say Gojo is really good for PvP, but not one of the best. But in terms of PvE, it's really good. Got lots of AoE moves, you don't gotta think, you just gotta spam. Moving on to the top 3 now, and in top 3 we have Star Rage, Yuki's technique. This technique is really, really good. And I go as far as to say it's honestly one of the best techniques in the game in terms of PvP and PvE. It's very versatile, don't get me wrong. Alright, this technique is incredibly versatile. There's a reason why whenever you play PvP or an exchange event, you'll probably see a Star Rage user, or if not, most of them are either using Star Rage or something like that, because this thing is just that good. It's meta, I'll be honest. Star Rage is meta. This thing has incredibly easy combo chains, like deadbeat easy combos. And not only that, it has incredibly strong guard break moves. Asteroid, Terra, a lot of range and a lot of power. And it has a incredibly good maximum too, the Black Hole. Now, in terms of its domain, it's definitely better than, I'd say, Soul Manipulation or even Thunder God, but it doesn't compare to other domains like Gojo's or even Sukuna's, because all it really does is give you max mass, which if you didn't know changes the variance for one or two of its moves, and you do more damage, of course, but that's pretty much all it really does. Now, the only downside to this technique is that the Black Hole sucks you in as well as everything, so you can't really avoid it. You'll also take damage. But besides that, I would rate Star Rage as a top 3 technique currently. And honestly, if you have this technique, don't spin it. Now moving on to second place, we have Demon Vessel, which is Sukuna's Cleave and Dismantle technique. Now, the reason I'm rating this as second place is because it just has it's incredibly easy to use. You don't need a brain to use this technique. You can just spam and you still do a crap ton of damage to everyone. It has incredibly powerful range moves. Cleave and Fire Arrow. I'm pretty sure Cleave guard breaks. I'm not sure about Fire Arrow, but Fire Arrow does a ton of damage. And this thing is really good for PvP and PvE, honestly. And if you are a beginner and you get this technique, it is definitely one of the easiest techniques to use in the entire game, so you have nothing to worry about. Dismantle is easy, it is AoE. Rend is AoE. Spiderweb is not that great of a move. I'm pretty sure it only works if your opponent is on the ground. But you could just swap it out with another move, whatever you want. But not only that, it has one of the best awakenings in the game. Alright, so the Heian Awakening, it heals you by a lot, and you get access to Dismantle and Cleave chance, which if you do both at once, you get the World Cutting Slash that just does a crap ton of damage to anything. It used to one-shot, but I'm pretty sure it doesn't one-shot anymore, but it still does a lot of damage. So if you manage to land it on somebody, they're still most likely going to die. Not only that, its domain is incredibly powerful, and they can't really do anything against it. Honestly, if they hold block, it kills their guards slowly, but if you keep pressuring them, it's basically a free damage move. Like, using this domain is probably the most offensive domain you could use in the game, because the opponent honestly can't really even do anything. They could fight back, and they could lose a ton of health against you, but you still most likely win if you use Malevolent Shrine, I'll be honest. It's just a really, really, really good technique overall. And honestly, if you have this technique, I wouldn't recommend spinning it away for anything else, but if you want to, I mean, go ahead. Overall, this technique is good for both PvE and PvP. I've used this technique a lot personally. It is definitely one of my favorites. Alright, moving on to number 1, and I guess you guys already know, it's Soul King, which is endgame Yuji or final Yuji. This technique right now is probably the best PvP curse technique in the entire game. And I'm not just talking about special grade techniques. This thing is the best PvP technique you could probably get right now. And not only that, in terms of PvE, it's still really good. But I'm going to explain why this technique is so good and why I'm placing it into top 1. Now, the first reason this technique is so good is because its moves are just incredibly busted. I'll be honest with you. Its spliced cannon does so much damage. You could guard break with it. Dismantle so is easy. It's basically a better version of Dismantle, or I would say kind of the same. And it has 2 moves that just speed blitz your opponent. It's basically insane. This thing does so much damage, they can't even hold block. You just guard break them so easily. Now, not only that, all of its moves has chantable black flashes. So meaning you could use black flash variants with any of its base moves, and you'll get a black flash token as well. So you could farm it and just spam your maximum. That's absolutely insane. Now, as for Soul King's domain, I'm pretty sure all it actually does is just does some passive damage over time. I'm not really sure what else it does. And also the fact that you can insta-kill your opponent with its maximum if they are under 40% HP. But besides that, I'm not really sure what else it does. But this technique is incredibly powerful. And not only that, the maximum, let's say you don't kill them with your maximum, right? You don't insta-kill them. It still turns them into this demon blob. It turns them into this blob, and you can just beat them up like a dummy until they're dead. So, yeah, absolutely busted. Nothing really much else to say. This technique is definitely the best curse technique in the entire game right now. But if you guys think otherwise, feel free to let me know in the comments. But honestly, if you guys watched this far, I just want to say thank you for your support. I really appreciate it. And if you enjoyed this video, do consider subscribing to my channel. I'm almost at 20,000 subscribers. But anyways, thanks for watching this video, guys. Do leave a comment, like, and subscribe. Till then, peace.